Hey.
This isn't thought out at all.
No, we didn't think
organic.
any of this through.
We didn't just film half of this and get self-conscious about the way we were behaving in it.
We didn't redo the entire thing.
I didn't knock the microphone over.
No, that didn't happen. So... spoilers for the entire movie. It doesn't matter. We are going to say things that happen in the film. Literally, we have no idea how any of this happened, what happened. We know as little about it as you do, and you haven't even seen the movie.
Would you say that we got back, we got back from the theater about an hour ago, right?
About an hour, yeah.
I swear to God. And we've been planning this podcast talking about this film. We went to see it to talk about it. And it is so incoherent that I'm having a hard time recalling it. So I mean that so sincerely. The movie... I don't like to talk bad about movies because movies are really hard to make, even if they're these big commercial things.
Right.
But for the love of God, man, like...
Well, and people online about this movie have been really, really angry. It's been actually more of a backlash for this film than I anticipated, at least what I've seen on the YouTube space. People seem to be really angry about this.
Yeah.
For one, they said I don't know, I thought I would be one of like the lone...
15 reasons why Jurassic Park sucks.
I thought I would be the lone person who would defend this movie, because I really enjoyed Colin Trevorrow's Jurassic World, and a lot of people hated that movie. I wouldn't say I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was a fun summer blockbuster, like action, horror, creature feature type of thing.
Yeah, I would say that my thoughts pretty much fall exactly in line with that. These recent two, particularly this last one, what was it called? Jurassic World Domination? What was it called?
Dominatrix.
Dominatrix?
Dominion.
But yeah, like these films, because they're so nostalgic now, are so self-conscious. Like, they're so meta almost. Well, not like literally, but, you know, they're so self-aware about what they are. And Jurassic World, I think, does that in a pretty, like, playful way. Like, I think that, obviously, Chris Pratt is sort of like the Sam Neill stand-in.
Right.
But not, like, he's not wearing an Indiana Jones hat and acting like Sam Neill.
Well, this is the weirdest thing, though, is... I don't recall Sam Neill looking like Indiana Jones in the first Jurassic Park. He wore a hat that looked similar to it.
But when you saw that outfit, you think, oh, Sam Neill from Jurassic Park. You wouldn't think Indy.
Yeah, because he's wearing what, like a blue button-up shirt and
like
is
it
an
a vest
or something?
Yeah, an ascot and a vest and some like brown slacks, I think.
Something.
I might be making that up, but I think so.
This was something I wanted to ask you about. Did you notice that like every character in this film was Indiana Jones?
Yeah, it's a movie full of leads. Like they're all main characters.
Yeah.
Which is fine, I guess, if it's an ensemble piece, but
why did they all look like Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Why did Chris Pratt look like Indiana Jones? Why did Sam Neill literally look like Indiana Jones carrying around a torch?
I think I see what you're getting at, and I think the solution to this would have been if Colin Trevorrow would have directed an Indiana Jones film. We're like super like theater nerds, like shut up, you know, be polite, sit down, watch the movie, don't talk. And we were having a real hard time trying not to talk to each other because we were about to fall over laughing. It was that baffling to us.
I lost it a couple of times where I still have to figure out where the hell they were.
I don't know. I remember
what was happening.
Where were they, in like Egypt or where?
So, I keep wanting to say Burma, and that's not correct.
So for context,
let me look up the facts here.
Can I tell the audience this real quick?
You can go ahead while I'm looking this up.
All right. So for context, like I have an anxiety disorder. You know, boohoo, who cares? Not to downplay anybody else's, but mine. But so I was watching this film and I was feeling kind of anxious because all these people, it was so packed. So I was a little bit on edge. And I was thinking that maybe some of the film wasn't I wasn't like catching some of it because I was so distracted. But then I started to feel better. And I started to calm down a little bit and I started really focusing in on the film.
Malta.
They were in Malta.
They were in Malta.
And by the time we got there, I was fine. I was good. I was chill. I was used to the people. I came down, which I'm sure other anxiety people will understand that feeling. And I got to tell you guys, and I mean this from the bottom of my soul, I did not know what the was going on. I didn't understand who these people... I even reached over and like whispered in his ear, almost like wanting him to save me. Like, what the is happening?
What is happening? You wanted me to explain it to you, and in the amount of time it would have taken me to explain it to you...
We're not exaggerating. Go watch it. It doesn't make any sense.
It does not. The entire film makes no sense.
It's so incoherent.
So, I mean, if we go by it on a play-by-play, when we walked in, which don't show up at the theater late, today was a day.
Traffic.
Yeah, a whole thing. Just even more than that. Just so much going on.
We filmed that.
Yeah, we filmed I don't think we're allowed to say that. I don't think we're allowed to say that.
Cut it out.
No. We get in around the time that it's a cowboy movie to start off with. Because Chris Pratt is a cowboy, and he's saying, like, giddy up. He's on a horse.
Yeah.
They're wrangling dinosaurs.
Which was cool. I mean, it wasn't offensive.
I immediately thought of a tonal clash, though.
Exactly.
It felt a little weird.
It seems that, like, this movie wants to be everything but a Jurassic Park movie. Mm-hmm. And, like, I don't think there's, I hate sounding like that, because it's like, oh, my idea of a Jurassic Park movie is what it should be, you know what I mean? What I'm saying is that, like, it just... everything that I think everybody kind of broadly and generally associates with Jurassic Park just didn't feel like this Colin Trevorrow, is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, Trevorrow.
Trevorrow was not interested in that at all. To your point, it felt more kind of like, at one point it was a cowboy movie, then it was like
it was like a coming of age film.
Yeah.
It was a coming of age film second, because with the girl, like, I need to find out my own life, like we can't keep her here forever. Then it was a kidnapping movie.
Yeah.
The girl gets kidnapped.
Oh, for sure, man. That was so stupid, unnecessary.
And then it just became a spy movie for like 40 minutes.
And it went nowhere.
When they went to Malta.
It went nowhere. It was just a bunch of things. Like, here's a person, another person. And then they were just like, it's just a fucking melting, like, soup.
There's been a
It's like, hate it.
There's been a trend lately of films that start off, especially like these big tentpole films. Like, I've noticed this a lot. Okay, my big two examples are Rogue One and The Rise of Skywalker.
I liked Rogue One a lot, actually.
I did not, but
I know.
Point being,
but they don't know that.
Oh no.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Rogue One planet hops a bunch of times. And then Rise of Skywalker did the same thing that this movie did, where it's hopping between so many locations and characters, and all these different things are happening. Yeah. That at a certain point, you literally just forget where you're at, what the stakes are, what's going on, what's happening, who's where.
Yeah,
what's what?
It's too much, man.
It's just too much of everything.
Is. And I'm not that kind of film viewer where I think, oh, it's too long or it's too much. Like, but if I speak for you, if you
sure.
feel that way, when we say it's too much or too long, we really mean that because we're kind of guys that'll watch a 17-hour movie if we like it.
Yeah,
like
genuinely, yeah. I have watched plenty of 3+ hour films.
Yeah, I binged Stranger Things in a day.
Yeah,
like the fourth one just recent.
The season 4.
I don't mind length,
and that was what 7-8 hours
at least,
something like that. Yeah, maybe longer.
Yeah, well, there's breaks and stuff, but I mean, I mean the sentiment so truly. So sincerely.
No, I mean, I watched pretty much 4 hours of that in one day. But I guess that has the benefit of being episodic, so you can have a through line that's more coherent. But that also has an A, B, C, and D plot.
Right.
And everything made sense.
It's watchable.
This film feels
Imagine that, folks. Movies need to be watchable.
Imagine understanding what's going on.
Imagine understanding the plot.
But there's this weird, this film immediately was jarring because it was flapping between so many different locations and characters.
So contrived.
Yeah, it goes through the weirdest process of elimination to get them all
Would you say unnecessary process? Because I feel like there was so much shit that could have just been erased. And I'm not like that. Like, if the artist wants it to be in there, that's the vision, whatever. But I just kept thinking in my head, like, there's so much stuff in here that we could have just got rid of to get to where we needed to go without going there. Yeah. It just was meandering.
Because it wanted to... Okay, because this is the thing, too, is this film also... It does kind of the same thing that, and I hate to just keep bringing up other films by comparison, but it does the same thing that A Quiet Place did that irritated me, where you're getting the same set of stimuli again and again, to the point where you really just start expecting what's going to happen because it's like, oh, well...
Get desensitized to it.
Yeah, and this film did that, but with a dinosaur is this close to your face.
Yeah, and I think that's a particularly egregious mistake for like a thriller film to make. Because if you're no longer... Yeah. Woo! Oh my God! It's 80th time.
Yeah,
it's like, okay.
Because it's like, okay, Bryce Dallas Howard is here and there's a dinosaur right in her face.
Yeah, and then I love
this guy
Bryce
comes
Dallas
here.
Howard.
Oh,
like I love spending time with that actress.
Film.
Like I don't like Chris Pratt. People are think, oh, it's politics. It's politics. I don't care. I love Clint Eastwood, for God's sakes. The Good, Bad, and the Ugly is my favorite film of all time. Clint Eastwood would make your dad, your Republican dad, look like a left-leaning... Can I curse? Okay, Clint Eastwood is Clint Eastwood, okay? I don't like his eye acting. Please demonstrate. Every single time you see Chris Pratt, he makes this face. I swear. I know that sounds...
You're telling me there's raptors in there?
Exactly. I know it sounds so.
There's raptors in
I know it sounds so pedantic, and I'm sorry. I probably sound like a psychopath, but I swear to God, I will pay anybody that watches this any amount of money that you decide if you can find a scene where he doesn't do that.
Is it this? Does it look correct?
Yeah, you're doing it. Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong.
And apparently the only two things you need to do to stop a dinosaur, by the way, are have a taser and.
Yeah.
Because this was another irritating thing. Was like,
my God, I almost had a stroke when you did that.
They established that Chris Pratt trained raptors. We remember that from the first
How
movie.
could we forget?
That was the only iconic bit of the first film, was him standing there like this.
Doing the 11 stance.
Yeah, so that was like the only thing they had. That was the only play they had to say, like, we did our own iconic thing.
Hey,
is him going,
wait, I'm a guy, I'm hot, I train animals. Hey, wait. I can't stand
Blue?
it. Could he be any more of a fucking guy? I mean, could he have a personality? Why is he just a guy?
He is just a guy.
He's like, wear the clothes, I do the. He doesn't sound anything like that. He doesn't sound anything like that. I'm gonna let him talk from right now.
Okay.
I need to
put me on the spot.
I need to collect myself. I apologize.
But point being that pretty much the entire film, like I said, the stimuli I was getting was always the same. Weirdly enough, for a film that hops between so many different ideas, locations, tones, genres, I was getting the same thing every time. Like the same feeling of just like, I have seen every bit of this film before, even when it tries to do something else.
And not even just, to add to your point, not even just a little bit. Like, I feel like I've seen every part of this film hundreds of times.
Literally, because even when it hops genres, it's just doing like, okay, this is a Paul Greengrass film now. This is a Bourne film.
It's
right
not
now.
doing anything of its own with any of these ideas.
Okay, Chris Pratt is on a motorcycle being chased through a cityscape. This is literally just Mission Impossible now.
Yeah.
And then like Bryce Dallas Howard in the forest, which you said you liked that shot.
Yeah,
Of her in
I
the
love
forest
that
near
shot.
under the river or whatever it was.
There's a shot of like Gigantogagalka fucking Arthritis.
Galgadosaurus.
Galgadosaurus, Wonder Woman Saurus. It's a big fucking lizard. But there's a big fucking lizard. Am I cursing too much? Because I can curse more. There's a really big lizard and a woman portrayed by Bryce Dallas Howard, who I love in Lady in the Water. Get mad at me all you want. It's a beautiful, weird film. F off. And there's a lizard above the water, and it like goes into this scene, to this image in the scene where you see Bryce Dallas Howard submerged in the water, and then this sort of extinct animal sniffing the top of the water, and it's very cool. And it lasts for about 10 seconds. It's one of the only things I actually liked in the film. Did I do okay, Dad?
I don't know. I kind of spaced out for a lot of that.
One of my favorite things in a horror film is a sense of situation and atmosphere. Like one of my favorite horror film of all time, not one of my favorites, my favorite is The Evil Dead.
Of course.
And that film is all situational. In that film, you're meant to relate to the characters. You know, it's like, imagine if you were in this situation, if you were that boyfriend, or if that was your boyfriend, if you were this person, what would you do if your friends suddenly just became demons, right? Situational.
Because this is a question that let me start that again. This
Take
was
your
a
time.
question.
We can cut it out. F it. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
We're Republicans, by the way. We love Bill O'Reilly.
Okay, this was the question I was going to ask you. Is the original Jurassic Park a horror film?
Huh. Yeah, I can see why people would say that it is or it isn't.
Like a B horror film?
Yeah,
almost?
because it
like
does.
a creature feature.
Yeah, it's like Land of the Lost, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if Land of the Lost is like... Well, because horror is such a broad term, really.
Right,
I mean, there's
it has horror elements.
Yeah, I mean, Goosebumps is horror, so is The Exorcist.
But I guess that's the thing, is like it's kind of conflating itself between like
Yeah.
B horror and a philosophical film and an action adventure film all at the same time. It's contending with different genres and it's blending them really well together.
See, I guess my own feelings would be that it's that's thriller. But then again, I've always considered thriller to be, if not horror itself, like a niche of it, but it's like at least adjacent.
Right. Well, and this was the thing, is like, I guess that's sort of the thing I'm trying to poke at, is that Jurassic Park, the original, is sort of a genre bender. It is sort of like a mix of various influences and sources.
Yeah.
At least in terms of the execution of the film. I have not read Michael Crichton's novel, so I'm not sure how.
Oh man, and well, yeah, I mean, Michael Crichton's novel is great, just to go on a tangent, but it's really Michael Crichton. I'm sure people familiar with him would know this, but he considered himself more to be like interested in the sciences than the arts. So he was always trying to espouse these like scientifically or philosophical scientific ideas, excuse me. And he was kind of just looking for excuses in the form of like high concept, like theme park full of dinosaurs to talk about these diatribes about nature and God. And so Steven Spielberg in his brilliance was like, yeah, he kept a lot of that, you know,
right.
But that book really reads for the first half from memory. I read it in middle school. It's just like you have the same experience like going on to like a I don't know, a science page on the internet and just reading
a textbook about.
It's just like God and nature, which is awesome and lovely. But if you're going into that book expecting like Spielberg, it's not there.
No. So Spielberg brought his own unique flavor.
Yeah, he made it better in my opinion. I love Crichton. Don't get me wrong.
And this film feels particularly strange. Jurassic World Dominion feels strange. Because it's trying to do essentially the same thing of genre bending, of bringing this influence, but the Spielberg influence that it is bringing is just imitation of Spielberg because it's not Spielberg.
And Crichton's not in there at all.
No,
it didn't have. There's none of that.
And so what you get is essentially like 10 different films. I mean, how many different films does this become? I'm genuinely struggling to remember what happened. And what order of events everything happened.
You're not losing your mind, brother. Because we've seen literally an hour and a half ago now. What? Maybe even shorter than I don't know.
Yeah, and we sat there for 3 hours.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Because that's another thing I wanted to point out was that this movie never ends. Like it's still playing in my head, and I still have no idea what's happening.
Can I say something in its defense, though?
Sure.
Before we went to see the film yesterday, I was looking it up and reading all things. I was on my Facebook and reading some page or article about it, looking for a certain article, and I was reading the comments, and lots of people said that they loved it.
Sure.
So don't listen to a couple guys on the internet, whether it's these two clowns or anybody else. Go see the film, decide for yourself, because some people really love this film. So it might sound like we're shitting on it. We're not trying to. We're very self-conscious about coming across in a negative way.
I feel like this almost isn't a review, and this is us just trying to process what just happened.
Yeah, because it feels more like something happened to us.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we watched a movie.
It doesn't feel like we watched a film.
It feels like something happened to us, and we're trying to understand what we just experienced.
It's like what Lovecraft writes about. It's like it's just eldritch. It's imperceivable. I don't know what it was, man.
So...
It's I don't want to say it's bad filmmaking. What the do I know?
Well, that's the thing that is frustrating is that the filmmaking on display is fine. It's fine. It's not excellent. I don't think there was anything about it that was executed to a point where I was like, this is brilliant.
In my opinion, speaking for myself and not disagreeing with you, I thought it did look gorgeous in IMAX. We saw it in IMAX. It looked stunning.
This is the reason this movie hurts my brain, is because my complaints are so opposite of each other that it's hard to navigate this film, because it's like, okay, my complaint is we're treading the same ground that we've tread in literally every other Jurassic Park film. But my complaint also is that this film is so tonally inconsistent and switches films so often and shows us things that we never wanted to see in a Jurassic Park film. So it's both. Like on a character level, on a story level, we're repeating the same themes, we're repeating the same arcs, we have all the same characters. But on a surface level, an aesthetic level, it becomes like a kidnapping thriller, a nature documentary, a Jason Bourne film, Indiana. Literally,
the opening is very Discovery Channel.
Okay, and I will say this: I fucking loved this part of the movie.
Yeah,
fucking loved it. When we go to Malta, and
where the are we?
We're in Malta. And
which is a place that exists that we knew about prior to this.
Of course we did.
We're geography buffs. I've been to Malta. I camped there.
I was not confused at all when the film kept constantly switching between different continents, locations. Where were we? The extraterrestrial plane. I gotta get back on track.
We've had a very confusing and challenging day. Not challenging in the same way that a firefighter's job is challenging, but challenging for us all the same.
This is what
you could be watching. This
is your brain.
You could be watching
Jurassic World
else.
Dominion.
You guys are watching this. You can't get mad at us. And I wish they wouldn't do that. We're doing it because why? Because we have a TV Land deal,
We have a TV Land contract that we have to fulfill. There are men with guns on either side of us.
Jesus Christ. Is this what a podcast is?
No.
Just two fucking people losing their minds?
I don't think this is supposed to be. This was not at all how this was supposed to go. We were supposed to be like. There was supposed to be jazz music.
Yeah.
We were supposed to be calmly describing what the film was about and like trying to be fair and honest and meet the film where it's at. But we are meeting the film where it's at, and we are going insane. We are in Malta. We're in Malta. Kidnapped girl is there. Kidnapped raptor baby is there. And we're navigating the streets of Malta.
We're navigating something. I'm just not quite sure what it was.
Somehow, I don't. Did the guy from the first Jurassic World film who trained raptors with Chris Pratt's character?
Oh, like his partner?
Yeah. Did he let them into a secret facility? Is that what happened?
I don't know.
Because they open the door and there's this sweeping shot that looks it's literally the same shot, like pretty much the same. It's not exactly the same, but it feels the same as the shot from Temple of Doom where they first show the temple.
Yeah, it's not one for one, but it's for sure.
It's evoking that.
Yeah, it's evocative of it.
And it's like a dinosaur dog fighting arena.
It felt like something out of the prequels of Star Wars.
It was bizarre.
It's so like, just go ahead.
And so there's a dinosaur dog fighting arena, and they're treating
There's a
it
dinosaur dog fighting arena.
They treat it like it's a Jason Bourne film where they're like, we got eyes on the target, where it's the girl's there.
Then
we need you to insert yourself here.
Then all of a sudden you're in the Flintstones.
Yeah, well, okay, and this is when it becomes like they literally rip a shot one for one from Bourne, but this is what it devolves to: is somewhere else in this same vicinity there are 4 dinosaurs that are like trained to kill people with laser pointers, like the Indominus Indoraptor.
Oh, the Atrociraptors,
whatever,
which is a sick name, but they didn't look.
Is that actually what they were?
Yeah,
called?
the Atrociraptors.
Oh,
because I remember I heard that, I was like, that's a sick name.
Basically, you point the laser pointer at somebody. The Atrociraptors.
That's
apparently.
Come on, well,
apparently
points.
That's what they're called. I don't remember this,
dude. If I'm making that up, don't steal it because I want to use it.
The Atrociraptors are
That's a dope-ass word, man.
Chasing Chris Pratt he's on a motorcycle
again.
They're again, but they're chasing him this time, and it's like a Mission Impossible movie. But at the same time, Bryce Dallas Howard ends up in a knife versus taser fight with some lady who's like a Star Wars villain.
Yeah.
I am not making this up. This is really in the film. And there's
it's really
we go from a dogfighting arena to somehow there's an action scene that happens because Chris Pratt fights Charles Manson. You went to the bathroom.
You can use my government name, Alfred.
Alfred went to the bathroom. Alfred went to the bathroom.
Don't dox us. I'm Alfred from West Texas. I like Slinkies.
Alfred went to the bathroom. And you missed dinosaur parkour.
Yeah.
Dinosaur parkour with a shot ripped straight from Jason Bourne or Uncharted 3, whichever.
Let me tell you something, my dear friend. I can live with it.
No.
I'm glad I missed it.
No, it was the best part of the film.
Was it good? Fudge!
Yeah, dinosaur parkour, you missed. And like I said, it's the best part of the film, but it's also the absolute... How did we go from Temple of Doom to Mission Impossible to dinosaur parkour film?
I think that there's a version of this film that exists, or could have existed rather, possibly in another universe, where all of these things kind of come together to make something very watchable and enjoyable and amazing, but it just for some reason doesn't work. And I think for me, a lot of that is just because of narrative unfocus. Am I making sense?
Yeah, like a lack of focus in the narrative.
There's not a lot of clarity. It's not a very lucid film. And to be certain, like these sort of like kind of euphoric, feverish summer blockbusters are supposed to be larger than life.
But would you say that this film...
It lacks clarity.
This is what I'm saying, is it does lack clarity. And this is what I'm trying to point out about how disparate my feelings are on it. It's like two opposite... I have two complaints that are on two opposite ends of the spectrum, and I'm trying to contend with what it is I actually have a huge problem with in this movie, because my problem is... Because I was going to ask you, do you feel like this film is ambitious? Or do you think its problem is its lack of ambition?
I think it's a lack of ambition. I feel like this film is very like paint by numbers because it does take like Indiana Jones, and not to keep repeating that, but I feel like that is the fundamental flaw of the film because it takes all of this inspiration from all of these different films and novels, I'm sure, that we might have missed because it does feel very pastiche. And the things that it does, the problem is it doesn't do anything with them. It just puts them there. Like if you look at a work like Stranger Things, it's taking influence from Stephen King in general, Firestarter and Carrie, and also Nightmare on Elm Street, and all this stuff everybody knows. But they put their own spin on it. When you think about it or Nightmare on Elm Street or any of the other works that Stranger Things is paying homage to, in comparison to Stranger Things itself, it stands distinct.
And it makes sense,
right.
And it feels like a cohesive part of the world of
Absolutely.
Stranger Things.
Absolutely.
Whereas in Jurassic World, we get Spielberg, we get Jason Bourne, obviously Indiana Jones is Spielberg, but you get a lot of Lucas in there too.
Yeah.
Because
there's an American Graffiti, Flash Gordon shout out.
There, and the control room of, what the hell was it called? It's not InGen anymore.
It's like
Biosyn.
Which is really kind of like...
The Biosyn control room looks like the inside of like of an Imperial Star Destroyer. It is doing all of these things in the most surface level, one note, pastiche way possible.
Yeah.
It's not doing like, oh, we're going to do Indiana Jones, but we're going to take it to the next level with these dinosaurs. It's just doing the same thing, but just putting dinosaurs in there.
Yeah, I don't think they have any like malevolent intentions or they're trying to be lazy. I hate the accusation of lazy writing. All writing is hard. And especially
when you're trying to balance 6 main characters.
Imagine right now
8 main characters, 10 main characters, however many main characters there are in this film.
Especially trying to write something, one of these big tentpole properties, like it's just insane.
I have to, because supposedly this is the epic conclusion to the Jurassic era.
It didn't feel epic at all. In all seriousness, it really just did not feel epic.
No.
It felt so flat and
it felt
lifeless.
It felt like 20 movies that I'd seen before jammed together into like a clip show.
22 of them.
Yeah.
22 movies you've seen before.
Jammed together in a clip show with dinosaurs in it too.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I mentioned it like as we've been recording the podcast or if I told you this off cast, but I felt like I went into a computer room and just watched a bunch of clips of a bunch of different stuff. And that's exactly how this film made me feel. And why don't we try to say some positives? What are your positives?
My positive is the entire Malta scene.
So you enjoyed that scene. That scene baffled me.
Again, I don't know how to describe my enjoyment of that scene. If it is like, because I hate saying I ironically enjoyed it, but that kind of is what it is, where I was like,
I think that's fair, though.
This is so ridiculous and stupid that I can't help but
it's
love
enjoyable.
it. I can't help but love the fact that this exists, because how the did this happen? This is my headcanon. So Colin Trevorrow gets axed off of Star Wars Episode 9. And he's like, okay, well, I didn't get to make a Star Wars film. Bummer. I guess I'm going to go back to making Jurassic Park. But then Indiana Jones 5 gets announced. Spielberg's set to direct. But then Spielberg leaves the project. There's not a director. And they're like, who do we get to direct this film? I think Colin Trevorrow, and this is completely just conjecture. I think Colin Trevorrow was like, oh, I hope he picks me. Because I worked with him sort of on Jurassic World. I think Colin Trevorrow wished it was him so much that when James Mangold got announced to direct Indiana Jones 5,
he did like, Logan, didn't he?
James Mangold, yes. He did Logan, Ford v Ferrari, stuff
Perfect
like that.
Film. Ford versus, oh, God.
And so hopefully that turns out okay.
How about that James Mangold, people? He's great.
Woo, everyone cheer.
I love you, Matt Damon.
I think Colin Trevorrow wished it was him so much that he, like when James Mangold got announced to direct it, then Colin Trevorrow was like, I had all these plans for an Indiana Jones movie. Now I have to go back to doing Jurassic Park because they didn't pick me for Indiana Jones 5. I couldn't pawn that off to somebody else like I did with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
You're saying that you think he was still in that mode?
That's what it feels like.
It does. Can we talk about the dinosaurs? Because I feel like the dinosaurs are just so inconsequential in this film.
Well, that was like...
They just feel so meaningless.
That was kind of the point that I was making at the beginning, was the idea of Bryce Dallas Howard...
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No. It was Laura Dern, rather. Yeah, petting the dinosaur that looked like a Teletubby, where she said, this never gets old. But that was how I felt every single time that I saw a dinosaur in this movie. I was like, this has gotten old.
Which I understand because I'm sure that Colin Trevorrow, I hope that's pronouncing the man's name right, but I'm sure that he's aware that people might feel that exhaustion because these films have been coming out since 1993.
Right.
But it's like...
So he was like, we need to give him something new.
Yeah, but then there's also...
he didn't give us anything new. He gave us stuff we'd seen before,
but there's
with
also
dinosaurs in it.
Yeah, this is big, huge filmmaking. This is one of the biggest tent poles ever. Should I be so bold to say?
This?
Yeah, Jurassic Park.
Oh,
properties.
I just as a property.
Yeah, as a proper, not as a singular film.
It never should have been a franchise.
It shouldn't have. The first one, Lost World, dude. Lost World is excellent.
I love a lot of the Lost World.
Shout out Jeff Goldblum forever.
I don't know. It still kind of gives me not the same feeling that this does because this left me horribly confused and like my brain hurts.
I hated
It's a fairly straightforward sequel.
Yeah.
But it gave me the same feeling that this does in the essence of like, okay, I mean, I didn't need this.
Yeah.
There's some good sequences in there, but I didn't need this. The first Jurassic Park was fun.
You're saying that about Lost World.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, and I genuinely enjoy that film, but at the same time it felt like I did not need this.
I'm trying to condense my thoughts about this film in a way that is hopefully kind of more articulate than I feel like I have been, because I don't feel like it's a terrible film. I mean, it's not like, oh, this is so... The directing is fine. The performances are fine. I know that I kind of, picked at Chris Pratt, but that was mostly just an attempt at a joke. But it's a movie that exists, is all I can really say.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work.
Like if...
And, art's not a competition. I don't care about nuts and bolts so much, speaking for myself. But if you want me to go watch a film, then I'd like to be able to understand what I'm watching. If it's an avant-garde piece, it's one thing. But if it's Jurassic Park, hey, man, I'd like to understand why I should care about Guy. This movie's like a bunch of stuff happening to a thing, and then the credits roll, and then you look at your buddy, and you say, what? What the hell was that?
I don't think there's a more perfect encapsulation of this film than that.
Maybe if you're lucky, your friend who loves you will pat you on the head and say, it's okay, little buddy. Watch something else.
Well, and this was something we wanted to mention too, was are children going to enjoy this film? Which in the theater,
you made a very good point about this.
There were many children in the theater. Many.
Please tell them what happened to these children.
Okay, so the child directly in front of us. They're fine. They're fine. They're not.
There was no fire.
In the film, there was.
Yes.
They made a point.
A lot of fire in this film. I know that's
a lot of insects. We didn't even mention that this film is an insect film.
I'm sorry if I'm screaming at you. Poor the audio. There's way too many insects. It's like The Exorcist.
As if dinosaurs existing in the natural world is not enough of an ecological disaster. We also need genetically modified locusts.
You guys remember in Jurassic Park all the f***ing giant locusts? Remember how that was your favorite part? Remember that? Yeah, this movie is more like The Exorcist 2 than it is Jurassic Park.
Pazuzu. The real enemy. The real enemy of Jurassic World Dominion.
Your mother rides T-Rexes at L.
I am Pazuzu.
Oh, God. I actually think kids...
So the children in this... The
children
theater
would have liked that film, which is wildly, horrifically inappropriate for them, way more than they like this film designed for them.
Because of the children in the theater. Yeah, child directly in front of us.
Sorry.
Child directly in front of us starts like just making noises because they're so bored.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure at some point they laid in their mother's lap to take a nap during the movie. I think that's what happened.
Yeah, he was snoring.
Yeah.
Little cute, not old man snores, but little baby snores. He was asleep.
Got up during action sequences because the movie was so damn loud.
There was two kids sitting directly in front of us, or maybe
some on the side of us too.
Yeah,
I mean the kids everywhere in this theater because it's a weekend and people want to go see Jurassic Park
it
with
was
their
packed.
families.
This movie's made money, but I kept noticing all these kids, and they just like shit getting up, and these weren't like super like young kids too. There's someone like probably 10.
Yeah, or like 6 to 10 years old.
You could see them like just like, you know what I mean, like.
And you could say that's just because kids have shorter attention spans nowadays or whatever. But I don't really think this film would be designed for someone with a short attention span.
Speaking as somebody that has pretty low attention span, like I remember as a kid, if I would have saw the original Jurassic Park, which was before my time. He literally came out the year I was born, and but if I had saw that like at 9, I wouldn't have been like, oh, I would have been like, oh.
I remember watching.
So
that's
anecdotal.
I saw it
but
on VHS as a kid, and clearly it had an impact on me because
it changed.
What kid didn't love dinosaurs?
Come on, love that.
So the point being that, yeah, the kids, there was a lot of fidgeting going on in the theater of kids just being supremely bored. The kids right next to me were constantly asking questions because they were so confused about what was happening. Like,
is he supposed to be dead? Was he in the last film?
And that's the thing is,
and that's that lack of clarity again.
Yeah, it's the lack of clarity in what is happening, where we are, what is going on, why do I care?
I think
Who is this? Were they in the last movie? I don't remember.
Right. I think I would say that this movie has a lot of ambition towards ideas. There's a lot of ideas, but there's no vision.
Yeah.
And that's a hell of a thing. And I know it's a hard thing to say about a guy, like a director, because, that's the core.
That is what you are that is the only thing you are expected to have as a director.
And maybe I won't say that there's no vision, but the execution of it, I don't know if it got lost in the edits or if there was studio interference.
Yeah, because it feels like, I guess that's a question I had on my mind too, was it Colin Trevorrow's idea to bring back Sam Neill and Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum? Was that part of his vision from the beginning?
Or was it shoehorned in by the studio?
Yeah, or did the studio say, hey, listen, it made a ton of money, but nobody liked Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Maybe we got to bring people back in, so in the trailer we can show Sam Neill and Laura Dern meeting up again, and then people will get the feelings, and then they'll go see it.
Yeah, it did feel kind of corporate, like cynical.
Yeah,
but at the same time, they did seem to want to be there.
They didn't phone it in 100%.
Yeah, it didn't feel like they were just kind of going through the motions.
We're trying to attempt to talk about positives. The Malta scene, genuinely enjoyed it. In terms of I guess. I don't know if it was genuine or ingenuine or how or why, but for some reason I loved that, and I cannot comprehend it because I can't comprehend anything that happened, and I'm still trying to make sense of it. Another positive, of course, was Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah,
who was severely underutilized.
Tragically too.
And
they have him do exactly what you expect them to have him do. It's very kind of like he's doing sort of a imitation of his performance. But it's not phoned in. It's
very self-aware though.
It's exactly what you would want from Ian Malcolm.
Yeah, it is Ian Malcolm.
Yeah,
again,
which is just Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that you said. Because I said that, I was like, oh, Jeff Goldblum, he was a highlight.
It doesn't count.
It does not count.
Jeff Goldblum is great in everything.
That doesn't count.
It doesn't count. It's a given. It's like, oh, there's air in the room. We can breathe. It doesn't mean the room's good. There was one scene that I actually genuinely loved, like unironically. Like I genuinely loved it, and it was the plane sequence. The plane sequence with there's a woman,
Bryce Dallas Howard, but then there's the other woman,
a pilot character. We'll call her pilot character because I really can't not.
I don't remember. She felt bad because the girl was getting kidnapped. She was fine in the film.
It's just the writing, the character writing was just not really there.
I don't understand what.
But there's a scene. Sorry to cut you off.
No. I stopped myself.
Oh, okay. There's a scene, to repeat myself 1,000 times, where I think like some sort of prehistoric kind of pterodactyl-esque, dinosaur.
It tries to tear the plane in half.
Yeah, and it kind of sort of succeeds, and it devastates the plane to the point where it can't remain airbound. And there's this amazing sequence where, there's only one ejecting seat, or what is it?
Yeah, it's an ejecting seat with the parachute on the back that has the lever for the second parachute, and they establish all that. Like somehow Chris Pratt knows all this because he was in the Navy, I guess. So.
Right. So Chris Pratt and our pilot lady, they're in the front, and he's in the front, and Bryce Dallas, he's like, okay, it's only one of us can get out of here. So of course, he does a heroic thing, and she sits there, and there's this amazing scene where it just sort of, and we watched it in IMAX.
It stays on like a static. It looks like a GoPro shot almost.
So we watched this in IMAX as well. So I'm not sure how much that improved that kind of experience, but it really felt like free fall. Like it felt the suddenness of it worked so well, and I remember thinking to myself like, well, this is good. Like this is actually it's actually so good, and I mean this with so sincerely that it's so good that the film is worth seeing because of that scene. It was so captivating.
You really think that?
I really believe that. I think it's amazing.
It's worth a $15 ticket in IMAX
if you want
to watch that one scene.
Yeah, it is. I promise you, it is. In fact, if you see it and you don't, I can't dox myself, but I swear to you, I will spend the rest of my life trying to give you that money back if it doesn't work. Because it's that good. I'll stand by that.
So basically what we're alluding to is that it's a lack of clarity, a lack of a comprehensible, cohesive vision.
Yeah, it's a whole it's soup. Look, if you watch this podcast and think to yourself, is this the worst movie ever made, and you go watch it and you like it, that makes sense to us. But what would make sense is you've told us, like, hey, it makes sense, because it doesn't.
Yeah. If anybody watched this and said, I completely understood everything that was happening at every moment. And
yeah, I'm not one to call anybody a liar, but I mean...
No, I mean... And that's the thing is...
It's hard to believe.
I would say, if I could nail down exactly how I feel about this film, I would say it feels like if you gave an AI every Steven Spielberg film and asked it to generate a script with the main, like, keyword being dinosaurs. It feels constructed in that way, where it feels like
it feels
just a complete mesh of, like,
paint by numbers.
Yeah, it's like paint by numbers, but that nobody understands what the picture is supposed to be of.
Yeah, they understand
painting.
All of the iconography from these pictures, but they don't understand anything that they indicate.
I figured it out. It's a paint by numbers Jackson Pollock.
Here, I'll tell you what. Here's my final thoughts. Print a picture off of Google of a dinosaur, microwave it for 15 minutes, then down an entire bottle of Jack Daniels, knock yourself out on a brick wall, then try to explain to your dog how to build a microwave, and you have the resultant experience that this film gives.
That's I think that's about all I can really...
God. I gotta take off.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
I'm gonna walk.
Gotta walk. I think that's it.
All right, cool.